At Thanksgiving, my dad announced we were selling the family business, and that I was getting nothing. But what I discovered that night would change everything I thought I knew about my past and my future. I hadn't been home in over 7 years. 7 years. That number echoed in my mind as I gripped the steering wheel, staring at the long, winding road that led to the farmhouse where I had grown up. The trees on either side were shedding their leaves in slow, graceful arcs, a golden and red carpet for the tires that carried me closer to a past I had tried to forget. The air smelled crisp and cold, carrying hints of smoke and wet earth. It smelled like home, yet it wasn't quite the same. 7 years had a way of changing everything. The farmhouse appeared at the end of the drive, smaller than I remembered, though in memory, it had always been larger than life. Its white paint was chipped in places, and the shutters hung unevenly. The front porch sagged slightly, as if weighed down by years of weather and silence. I slowed the car, taking it all in. This was the place of my childhood, my family, my mistakes, and my regrets. And then I saw her. Ella. My first love. The girl I had left behind. My chest tightened, and for a moment, it felt like I couldn't breathe. She was sitting on the edge of the porch, wrapped in a thick, grey sweater, arms crossed loosely over her knees. Her hair, once perfectly straight and golden, now had strands of brown mixed in, catching the late afternoon light like threads of copper. She wasn't smiling. She never was smiling. But there was a calm in her posture, a quiet strength I remembered from years ago. I stopped the car, unsure if I should step out or run away. My mind raced, replaying the last memory I had of her 7 years ago, the fight, the words shouted in anger, and then the door slamming behind me as I walked away, leaving her and everything else behind. I hadn't understood her choice back then, hadn't understood why she disappeared from my life so suddenly. But now, seeing her, I felt the old ache return, sharp and insistent. I stepped out of the car, the cold November air biting at my cheeks. Leaves crunched under my boots as I walked up the driveway. The sound was loud in the quiet evening. Ella didn't move. She didn't look up. I almost called her name, but something stopped me. Part of me wanted to freeze time, just watch her from a distance, memorizing her face, the way the sun kissed her cheek, the way her shoulders tensed as she sat there. My memories flooded back, the laughter, the whispered secrets under the stars, the long walks in the fields behind the house. And then the fight. 7 years ago, it had been small, almost insignificant, but it had grown into something huge in my mind over time. The argument over trust, over decisions, over things I didn't fully understand. And I had walked away. I had left without a word, without an explanation, leaving a hole in both of our lives. Her voice broke through my thoughts, soft but deliberate. "You're here," she said. That was all. Just 3 words, but I could hear the weight behind them. The years of silence, the questions, the pain, it all echoed in that small statement. "I had to come," I said, my voice rougher than I expected. After what Dad said, I needed to know if it was true. She didn't respond right away. She didn't look at me. Her gaze stayed fixed on the horizon, where the sun was sinking behind the trees, painting the sky with oranges and purples. I watched her profile, the curve of her cheek, the line of her jaw, and for a second, I remembered why I had loved her. Not just her face, but the way she carried herself, the way she seemed to know things I didn't. The way she had always seen me, even when I didn't see myself. We stood there in silence for a long time. My mind raced with questions, with what ifs, with memories that I hadn't allowed myself to feel for years. The farmhouse creaked in the wind, the smoke from the chimney curling into the cold sky. I could smell the faint scent of something baking, cinnamon, perhaps, or roasted turkey. The smells hit me with an almost physical force, reminding me of family, of warmth, of gatherings that had once felt safe. I wanted to ask her everything: why she left, why she never reached out, why she had disappeared from my life without a single explanation. But the words caught in my throat. 7 years of silence couldn't be undone with one question. Not easily. "Ella," I finally said, my voice softer, almost a whisper. Why didn't you ever?" I stopped. The words felt inadequate, too small for the weight of years, for the emptiness that had grown between us. She finally looked at me then, and I saw it. The hard edge, the guardedness, the pain. "I had my reasons," she said quietly. Her eyes didn't soften, but they didn't look angry either. Just tired. I nodded, not knowing what else to say. I had no answers, only questions. I remembered the last time I had seen her, the words we had thrown at each other, the misunderstanding that had seemed so huge at the time. And now, standing here, I realized I hadn't really known her at all. Not fully. And maybe she hadn't known me either. I stepped closer, almost instinctively. "I've missed this," I said. "Missed us. Or whatever we were." She didn't respond. But there was a small movement, a shift in her posture, as if she were weighing whether to let me in, whether to let the past stay buried or be faced. The wind picked up, rustling the trees, sending a flurry of leaves around us. They swirled at our feet like memories, some golden and beautiful, some brown and decayed. I took a deep breath, letting the cold air fill my lungs, trying to steady the storm of emotions inside me. For a long time, we just stood there. Two people, broken in different ways, brought together by a past neither of us could forget. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the farmhouse, over the porch, over her. I felt a pang of fear, a fear that maybe time hadn't healed anything at all. And yet, there was something in her eyes that I hadn't seen in years. Something familiar. Something that reminded me of who we had been before the anger, before the mistakes, before the distance. I didn't know what the next step would be. I didn't know if she would let me in, if we could talk, if the truth could finally come out. But one thing was certain. Standing here, in the cold November air, looking at her on the porch of the old farmhouse, I knew that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. 7 years of silence. 7 years of distance. 7 years of unanswered questions. And now, finally, I was home. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in deep shades of purple and orange. The porch light flickered on, casting a warm, golden glow over the boards where Ella and I had been standing earlier. I felt the chill in the air creeping into my bones, but it wasn't the cold that made me shiver. It was her presence, the tension between us, the years of distance and silence that hung like a thick fog. "I can't believe you just showed up," she said finally, breaking the quiet. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, a tremor beneath the surface that betrayed the emotions she was trying to hide. "I had to," I replied, taking a careful step closer. "I couldn't stay away after what Dad said. I needed to see you, needed to understand." She sighed, and I could hear the weight in that single breath. It carried memories, regrets, and something else I couldn't place. Fear, maybe, or guilt. "You think seeing me now will fix anything?" she asked. Her eyes were fixed on the glowing horizon, but I could feel her watching me, weighing every word I said. "Maybe not," I admitted. "But I need to try. I can't. I can't pretend like those 7 years didn't happen." Ella didn't answer right away. Instead, she gestured toward the old barn behind the farmhouse. "Walk with me," she said softly. I nodded and followed her, the boards of the porch creaking under my weight. Every sound seemed amplified in the quiet evening. Leaves swirled around our feet as we made our way to the barn, a place that had held so many memories from our youth. Laughter, arguments, dreams shared in whispers under the fading sunlight. As we reached the barn, she paused. The wooden structure groaned in the wind, and the smell of hay and old wood filled the air. I could almost feel the ghosts of our past lingering in the rafters, watching us, waiting. "I don't know where to start," she said, her voice barely audible. She turned to face me, and I noticed the faint tremble in her hands. 7 years ago, it all fell apart so fast. I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to make you understand. I swallowed hard. My chest tightened as memories began to surface. Shouts, slammed doors, my own anger and confusion. "I remember," I said quietly. "But I never understood why you left. Why you disappeared." I waited, and nothing came. Her eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in years. Pain, yes, but also a glimmer of vulnerability that reminded me why I had loved her in the first place. "I thought leaving was easier," she confessed. "I thought if I walked away, it would protect both of us. But I was wrong. I didn't protect anything. I just left a hole." I looked down at the ground, unable to speak for a moment. The wind rattled the barn doors, and I could hear the distant call of an owl. The world felt suspended, waiting for us to confront the past. "Ella, there's something else," I said finally. "Something feels off. You're not telling me everything." Her gaze dropped to her feet. I could see the struggle in her expression, the way her lips pressed together as if she were holding back a storm. "Maybe some things are better left unsaid," she murmured. "Better left unsaid." I repeated, my voice rising slightly. 7 years of silence. Ella. You don't get to decide what I deserve to know and what I don't. She flinched at my words, and for a second, I thought she might walk away. But instead, she took a deep breath and met my eyes. "You don't understand," she said softly. "Back then, things were complicated. More than you knew. More than you could have known." I remembered the day she had disappeared, the letters I never received, the unanswered calls. Complicated how? I asked, my voice trembling. Was it about me? About us? Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "It was about everything," she whispered. "Your family, my choices, my fears. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I failed. I failed you, and I failed myself." The weight of her words hit me harder than I expected. All these years, I had carried anger, resentment, confusion. And now, standing here in the barn, listening to her, I realized how much I had misunderstood, how much I had assumed, how much silence had twisted the truth into something unbearable. I stepped closer, hesitant, unsure if I was walking into reconciliation or more heartbreak. "Ella, tell me. Please. I need to understand. I can't fix anything if I don't know the truth." She looked away again, staring at a broken window where the last rays of sunlight caught the dust in the air. I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid you wouldn't forgive me. Afraid you'd hate me. Afraid of losing you again." Her voice cracked slightly, and my heart clenched. I remembered the way she used to smile, how her laugh used to make the world feel lighter. But now, she was older, quieter, carrying secrets I didn't yet know, and pain I hadn't imagined. "I don't hate you," I said, softly, almost desperately. I just want the truth. Whatever it is. I can handle it." She hesitated, biting her lip, her eyes darting away again. Something about her seemed different, as if she were carrying a secret too heavy to share. My gut twisted with anticipation and fear. "You should know," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "I made choices you'll never forgive me for. But I had to protect someone." I frowned, confusion and dread swirling in my chest. Protect someone? I asked. Her hands trembled as she folded them in front of her. "I can't, not yet. You're not ready. Maybe never. But you deserve to know there's more to the story than you realize." I felt my chest tighten. 7 years of unanswered questions, of imagined betrayals, of growing resentment. It all came crashing down, replaced by something new: curiosity, fear, and a gnawing sense that the past was about to reveal something I could never have imagined. The wind picked up again, whistling through the broken windows of the barn. Dust swirled in the golden light, catching the edges of her hair, making it shimmer. I took a step closer, my voice trembling slightly. "Ella, I've waited 7 years. Don't leave me guessing now. Please." She looked at me then, really looked, and I saw the storm behind her eyes. A storm of guilt, fear, and love. She opened her mouth, hesitated, and then closed it again. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating, as if the barn itself was holding its breath, waiting for the truth to come out. I knew then that whatever she was hiding, it was big. Bigger than anything I had imagined. Bigger than the fight we had 7 years ago. Something about her tone, her hesitation, the way she avoided my eyes, it all screamed that the past was about to collide with the present in a way I could not prepare for. And deep down, I realized this wasn't just about us anymore. It was about something, or someone, that she had been protecting all these years. Something that would change everything. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Ella, whatever it is, tell me," I said again, my voice steady but my heart racing. "I can handle it. I have to." She closed her eyes, a single tear escaping down her cheek. "I hope you can," she whispered. "I really hope you can." The tension hung in the cold barn air. The secrets of the past, the pain, the misunderstandings, all of it was waiting to be revealed. And I knew that once the truth came out, nothing between us would ever be the same. Thanksgiving dinner was in full swing, but I could barely focus on the smells of roasted turkey and sweet potato pies, or the chatter of relatives filling the house. Everything had grown loud, almost unbearable, as if the world around me was trying to drown out the storm inside my chest. I could feel my jaw tight, my hands trembling slightly as I sat at the long dining table, trying to keep a calm mask over the turmoil. Dad cleared his throat. The room fell silent for a brief moment, all eyes on him. My stomach nodded. I had feared this moment ever since I arrived, the moment when the truth about the family, the business, and my place in it would be laid bare. "We are selling the business," Dad announced casually, as if it were a matter of routine, "and you're getting nothing." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. Nothing. I felt my knees go weak. All the years of working, sacrificing, proving myself, and holding the family together, gone. Just like that. My mind screamed, heart pounding with a mixture of rage, betrayal, and disbelief. "You, what?" I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Dad shrugged, his expression calm, almost smug. "It's business. Family decisions. You weren't involved enough, so, you're out." The room seemed to close in around me. The laughter, the polite clinking of silverware, the smell of gravy, all of it blurred into a haze of anger and disbelief. But before I could respond, I caught Ella's eyes from across the table. She wasn't smiling, but there was something in her gaze that made me pause. Something quiet, almost triumphant, hidden beneath the surface of a calm. I excused myself from the table, my heart hammering, and stepped into the cold evening air, the crisp November wind hitting my face. Leaves rustled underfoot as I walked toward the porch, seeking clarity, needing air. Ella followed silently, her presence both comforting and unsettling. "Did you know?" I demanded, my voice tight. "About this? About the business? About Dad planning this?" She shook her head, eyes distant. "No, I didn't. But maybe this isn't the worst thing that's happening here." "What do you mean?" I asked, my hands clenching into fists. My mind was spinning. The betrayal of my father, the loss of the business. How could anything be worse? Ella took a deep breath, her fingers brushing against mine as she reached out. "There's something you need to know, something you've been waiting for all these years. Something you couldn't have known." I froze, the wind whipping around us, tugging at her hair. "Ella, what are you talking about?" She hesitated, then stepped closer. "7 years ago, before you left, her voice faltered. "We had a child. I raised her. She's been waiting for you." My mind stopped. I couldn't breathe. My heart slammed against my ribs like a drumbeat I couldn't control. A child. Me. I had no words. The world tilted, the cold air seemed sharper, the leaves swirling violently at our feet. I felt the weight of all the lost years, the arguments, the silence, the unanswered questions, crash down on me in a wave of shock and disbelief. "You, what?" I stammered. "A child. You never told me." She shook her head, tears spilling freely now. "I didn't want you to leave again. I didn't want to risk losing her, or you, to more mistakes. I thought I could protect her by keeping the truth hidden." I sank to the porch steps, my hands covering my face. Everything I thought I knew about the past, about Ella, about my own choices, it had all been a lie, a shadow. And in the midst of my heartbreak and anger, I felt a strange, trembling hope. "She's here." I whispered. Ella nodded, her voice soft. "Come inside. I want you to meet her." We walked back into the house, past the remnants of the family gathering, past Dad who was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in me. My legs felt heavy, my mind racing. And then I saw her, our daughter, standing quietly near the kitchen, her eyes wide and curious. She looked like a smaller version of both of us, a living piece of the past and the future intertwined. "She's beautiful," I said, my voice catching. "What's her name?" "Lila," Ella whispered. "She's 7. Just like the years we've lost." I knelt down slowly, my heart aching with a mixture of guilt and awe. Lila looked at me with tentative curiosity, then stepped closer. She held out her hand. My hand shook as I took it, feeling the warmth of her small fingers wrap around mine. "I've waited a long time to meet you," I said softly, tears blurring my vision. I'm your father." She nodded, shy but trusting. "I know," she said simply. "Mom told me about you." And in that moment, All the anger I had felt toward my father, the bitterness over the business, the years of unanswered questions, they didn't matter. Nothing mattered except the truth that had been kept from me for so long, the life that had grown without me knowing, the daughter I had unknowingly missed. I looked at Ella, who stood beside me, tears streaming down her face. "You hid this from me, all these years?" I asked, my voice a mixture of pain and disbelief. "I did," she admitted. "But it was to protect her, and maybe you too. I didn't know how to tell you, and I didn't know if you'd forgive me." I shook my head, a smile breaking through despite the shock and hurt. "Forgive you? Ella, this isn't about forgiveness. It's about reality. Life went on without me, but here she is. You gave me the greatest thing I could ever imagine, even if it took 7 years for me to find out." The evening air seemed lighter now, the weight of the past lifted slightly by the revelation. I could feel something shift inside me, a sense of triumph, not over anyone else, but over the pain and silence that had defined so many years. My revenge was quiet, subtle, and perfect. Dad could try to take away the business, try to cut me out of the family legacy, but he could never take away this. My daughter. My life. My future. I stood up, holding Lila close, and looked at Ella. "You did what you thought was best. And now, we move forward. Together." She nodded, her shoulders relaxing for the first time in years. "Yes," she whispered. "Together." I glanced toward the dining room where Dad was still unaware, laughing at something trivial, oblivious to the life-altering truth in the next room. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. My victory wasn't in confrontation. It wasn't in anger. It was here, in this small, quiet moment, in the life that had grown despite all the mistakes, in the daughter who had waited for me without ever knowing. And as I held Lila for the first time, feeling her small hands in mine, I whispered silently to the universe, to my father, to everyone who had ever doubted me. The past may have tried to break me, but it didn't. I lost the business, the years, the silence, but I didn't lose what truly matters. I looked at Ella, at Lila, and for the first time in 7 years, I felt whole. And Dad's words. They didn't matter anymore. Nothing could ever take this away. The family business was gone, but my family, my real family, was finally here.